She doesn't even do this thing. Wow.
Hi, today I'll be talking about the sitar, and it's by me. The sitar is an instrument that's been used ever since the Middle Ages, so it's probably the most famous Indian instrument known. Ravi Shankar made this instrument popular throughout the world. The sitar has a very long neck and is shaped very uniquely. The number of strings may vary, but most have about 20 to 23. It has about 6 to 7 playing strings and 3 to 4 drone strings. The strings are plucked with a wire finger plectrum called the mesrab. There are some strings that lie under the frets, but those are the ones that are never played. Whenever a note is plucked, those strings vibrate. The name sitar came from the Persian sitar. Set means 3 and tar means string. An older Indian instrument called the Rudavina shows some similarities to the sitar. It's mostly similar because of the use of the gourd resonators. It's possible the sitar came from this instrument, but as we know, the sitar was developed during the end of the Mughal era. People normally play the sitar in North Indian classical music, film music, and Western fusion music. Normally, it is not played in Southern Indian classical performances or folk music. The sitar is mostly found in India, and many parts of India have their own versions of the sitar. The sitar is very complex because it's made by professional craftsmen. There are many parts of the sitar, but I'll be describing only 5 of them. The turning pegs are called the kuntas. The kuntas are just normal friction pegs, but there are 2 types of them. There are the large kuntas that are made for the main strings, and there are the small kuntas that are made for the more sympathetic strings. The bigger kuntas comes in different styles: the simple, the fluted, or the lotus. The furthest string on the sitar is the bitar, which is mostly the only string that gets played on. The tar are the strings that are never strummed, but vibrates when a note is being played, and since they're under the frets, it's impossible to play a melody on it. The parda adjusts the frets, and they adjust the pitch of the strings. The tabkindi is the phase plate. It's very important because it determines the tone of the sitar. So when it's too thin, it makes a loud sound but a poor sustain. But if it's too thick, it will make the sustain better, but it makes a weaker sound. It's important to keep this wood clear and consistent, because if any holes are made, the instrument becomes weaker. The sitar is played by putting it between the person's left foot and right knee. The hand should be able to move freely without having to carry any of the weight. The person plucks the string with a metallic pick called a mesrab. The thumb stays on top of the fretboard right above the gourd. Normally, just the index and middle fingers are used for playing, but sometimes some players occasionally use their 3rd finger. My country's guitar is a banjo, and there are many differences and similarities between those 2. The banjo and the sitar both have melody strings. The biggest difference between the 2 are the appearances and the way to play it. A banjo is much smaller and is played by fast plucking while pressing the notes. The sitar, however, is played in a little more complex way because of the strings and the parts of the sitars are different. Both these guitars have a cultural meaning to them. Their uniqueness helps it get known throughout the world. These guitars are very interesting, so I hope many people learn to play them. These are just my sound sample links to listen to the sitar. This is my reference link. Thank you for watching or listening.
Any questions? Comments? Anastasia?
You had a clear voice, and then you have enough information.
The same tone of voice.
Okay.
A bit fast, but not, and there's a lot of information, so it was clear.
Any